double screen. Oh my God. Okay, it's recording. Okay,
Yes,
and
everything is
here
working.
sound.
Everything is working. It's the end of the year and we are here. Christmas is coming. And I am so happy to see you. And this is such a great opportunity to be here with you today and to talk about the best things ever. Books, languages, and everything about it, actually.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, absolutely. So shall you start introducing yourself? Tell me, because I'm so curious about you because you are Russian and you live in Paris. That's
Yes,
right.
absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Tell me.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. This is a really funny thing. Well, but on the other hand, I moved to Paris. It was, I'd say now 6 or 7 years ago. And the last time I was in Russia, it was something like 5 years ago. That is why I feel more Parisian now, if it's possible to say so, than actually Russian. And yeah, and while like everything in my life is in French, my husband, like family, friends, etc. I'm crazy about the English language. And I'm blogging, reading, writing in English. So it's like juggling, like two languages in my life, two loves of my life, I would say like this.
Yeah, that's great. And so you studied, so you speak some French, do you?
Ouais, je parle. J'espère que j'en parle en fait. En tout cas, j'utilise ça toute la journée. Bon, ok, pas toute la journée, mais avec toute la famille, avec les amis, tout ça, oui.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's great. Oh my God. So, yeah, it's great. It's so great as well to share and it's so nice to see once you've learned the language. I don't know what is English. Was English the first language that you've learned?
Actually, yeah. Actually, like my second language, it was English at school, at university, and then at uni we had to choose another language, and we had like two options: German and French. And my dream was to read Victor Hugo, in
Wow.
the original version, and I said, yeah. So that will be definitely him, like Victor Hugo and the French language. And so that is why I started learning French when I was like 20 years old, I guess.
Yeah, this is the thing is when we learn a language, this is also one of the reasons why we learn a language is that because we want to learn to read the book in its original language as well. And it's so different then it's like when I think I was talking about this in one of my lives and we were talking about the poetry as well. It is so different. It's so unique when it's in its own language. When you want to translate it, I don't know how you feel about it.
You lose the magic of the first language. Well, I do believe, yeah, and actually that is also, I think it is important to talk about this. And and that's what I really love about your project, that you are promoting this idea that learning languages, it's not necessarily only to get a promotion, to travel, but also it's this pleasure of discovering your favorite writers in their original, language. And definitely when you read in the original language, you get, as I said, this magic, but also the rhythm, the energy of the text. It's so different. It's so different. And that is why, for me, on the one hand, like translators, they're like gods because, they're capable of making a new version of a book on the one hand. On the other hand, I've always, been asking myself, does it really count to read a translation or not? Can I say, for example, if I read, well, let's say like, I don't know, like Harry Potter in French or in Russian, does it really count? I've been asking myself this question. And I don't know. I still have no answer for it.
I want to say it does count because we have to be, this is something that I often say, because we have to be kind. We have to be kind with ourselves because we have this once you reach sort of an advanced or when you B2 level, sort of, you want to challenge yourself and you want to read the books, especially when you're studying literature or anything, you really want to read the book in its original language. The thing is, you end up being frustrated because sometimes the level of the English is too high for you. And for Harry Potter, of course, it's not a classic of English literature.
What are you saying? It is classic now. How dare you?
But I mean, in a sense that it's not written in 19th century or year old English. 19, yeah. And so the thing is, the reading of that book becomes a frustration, and you lose interest, or you
You
become
can lose your heart, exactly. You feel that your
yes,
language is not enough.
very and you struggle really reading, and you lose the joy really of reading. And this is the reason, yeah, and that's the reason why I say that when you feel like this is too much, or the level is really, you feel like you're not connecting, then give yourself a break. Just and read the book in your own language, so that you will get the overview and get the whole story, and then later on, when you will reach that level of English, then go back to it and enjoy the reading of this original language.
I agree with you. I agree with you absolutely. And this is
Of course, but once you reach the level of the book in its original language, then the experience is much higher.
enriching. Yes.
Yeah, enriching, and then you will have that ability to compare. Then, okay, my experience reading it in French and my experience reading it in English, or in the other language, and then that's very interesting to have these two ways, these two experiences in the end, because then you're able to compare as well. Oh, what the translator translated like that, but no, it's not true. And then you can you can criticize and say, oh, this is not actually how I would have translated it.
Yeah,
Maybe,
absolutely. I agree with you. And I believe for me, this is such a strange thing, but there is so much pressure in this, field of reading books. First of all, no matter what language we read, like first, second language, etc. There is so much pressure already, like how much time you read, how many books you read. Already, a lot of people, just in general, they struggle with this idea of quitting a book. Even no matter first, second language they're reading, they feel guilty. And lots of people, for all these years, they've been asking me what to do, how to understand, should I quit, should I stay, or should I go, like in this song. And in my opinion, well, okay, of course, sometimes you need to challenge yourself. You need to give it a go. Of course, like the first page, it's not representative. You need to keep, but if for days you've been struggling, what the heck? What's the pleasure? Because reading, even if it's for studying, even it's for self-development, for your work, I think this should be a pleasant challenge, something that something that brings you joy. So this is the first thing, no matter what language. And then also, this funny thing about levels. When I started learning French, well, as I said, yes, I was obsessed, with books, etc. So when my level was like A2, which means that I knew passé composé, and that's all. I started reading Françoise Sagan, not like Bonjour Tristesse, but something else. So all in all, I understood, let's say, 20% of everything that I read. But that was for me, a very nerdish, a very bookish pleasure of just, you know, holding this book in French, in the language that was like crazy about. I was really crazy about French, you know, it was like my dream. And I was just enjoying the process of seeing the letters, you know, on the page, of seeing the words, of tasting them, of reading out loud some, you know, like passages. And even if I understood all in all, like 20–30%, for me, that was a very successful experience. And I felt extremely proud of me because I didn't have high expectations. I didn't have, you know, like this like plans to understand everything and anything. I just wanted to see what I would feel as a reader in French. And I think sometimes it's also all about the love of language and how you feel as a reader in this language. So not necessarily that we should read for the information, for plot, but sometimes just to enjoy the process and to see the beauty of the language, because this is what about books, to see the beauty of language, in my opinion.
Yeah, because it's so much more than just reading a story, because when you dive into a story, you dive into the culture, a period of time, and you transport it in that time when you're reading a novel or fiction. But it's everything that you get into, and even if you don't understand everything. But I know that sometimes people get frustrated because, and I know I've been in that place where you can't understand every single word, and because you are, I don't know how you learned at school, but often, you know, you have those, this is how I've been taught in schools, in school. You will never get a whole, you will never read a whole book. You will get extracts from books. Even when I was in high school and, you know, near, you know, the baccalaureate, at the end of my school years, you would read extracts of passages because I studied German, and you would not read even in English, you would not read a whole book, and you would get those extracts from the book, and then the teacher will ask you, oh, right, so now can you tell me what, you know, comprehension questions, what do you understand from the text, blah, blah, blah. And because you're in that situation, you just get that 15, 16 lines, I don't know, maybe more. And then you have to be able to understand, getting the character, being able to understand the character, the context, everything, and without having the whole understanding of the story and the context of the whole story, and you end up not understanding obviously what's the real meaning of that passage, and the teacher, and you really feel like a failure, because you're like, oh my god, if I'm not able to understand this short passage, how am I going to be able to read a whole book?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You're telling this message in your head, not feeling able to read a book, because a full book, because of that experience of not being able to understand, analyze, because this is what we do often in school, even in your native language. We do intensive reading, in opposition to extensive reading, which is something that I teach in my course as well. I don't know if you've heard of this term, extensive reading. When I was studying for my master's in education, I did my thesis not on extensive reading, but I learned a lot on this and extensive reading in second language, and that's where I started really exploring reading as a teacher, the ability for the students to read books and short books to get into the story and read for pleasure, or trying to show them a short story so that they could get into, you know,
but you know, no, my experience was absolutely different at school. But I just want to say that, oh my gosh, I can imagine you were traumatized, no, by this experience. It killed all joy, no?
So I mean, even in French,
very like mechanical. It's a very mechanical,
yeah, because you know, in French,
analytical.
I don't know how you're gonna tell me now how you learn French, but you know, in French schools where you have grammar, loud grammar in French, and what we often do, even with our own language, I hope now, and I think now the new generation of teachers and pedagogy and everything has evolved. But when I was young, you know, you would study the sentence. You will dissect. You will dissect the different parts, and that is called this, and this part of the sentence is called that. Blah blah blah. But it's rare that you would, okay, the teacher will take a book. I've seen that in English schools when I was living in the UK and teaching there. And I would see some teachers, you know, grabbing the book, and you would have the kids maybe having the book as well. And the teacher will read the book. That was a reading lesson. That's it. For a whole hour. That's amazing. And it's something that I never experienced. And I don't know if they're really, and when I was teaching in France, as far as I can remember, I don't think teachers do that. They would say they would do maybe 10 minutes, but they won't do a whole hour, just the teacher reading. And I find that amazing, because you've got kids who never read books, you know. I don't know, but tell me your experience reading in French.
No, but well, first of all, I think this is a very, like, this is an amazing experience. And I believe that sometimes, well, stories and books, they should be read out loud. Actually, text, they should breathe. And this is something that actually, if we think, like, you know, like in a historical retrospect, like the first stories, like, you know, prehistorical people, they were saying it out loud, right? When they were like sitting around the fire at the end of a busy day, surviving, killing mammoths, and it was like the tradition, you know, like Homer, etc. That is why, first of all, I think this is a marvelous experience to be listening to books. And that's why, by the way, now I'm really into audiobooks. But what I want to say that I feel that I'm lucky, because lucky and not, it depends how you look at it. Because if we talk about reading in second language, unfortunately, when I was at school, there was actually no opportunity to read books at that time, because I am pre-internet generation. I mean, like generation, like the internet in my life, like entered my life when it was the first year at uni. Just to tell you, I'm that old. But also, you shouldn't forget that.
You don't know.
But I mean, like, also we shouldn't forget that, like, Russia, everything, you know, was a little bit slow, let's say like this, from all points of view. So that is why I really started reading in English when I was 17, when I was preparing for, like, you know, like some final exam, kind of like back. And it was really, for me, to answer my own question, why am I learning English? And I was like, okay, well, probably I should start reading in English, and that will be the answer why I'm learning English. And when I started reading, you know, through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll, that was my first book I read. And then I was like, oh yeah, now I see why I've been learning English. Yeah. Now I read, I'm fully enjoying the book and myself. So now, okay, the answer is here. So that is why, if we talk about reading in my second language, it was always my choice. Even when I was, you know, learning French at uni, we've never been, you know, like asked to do this, which is strange on the one hand. On the other hand, it gave me freedom. But again, I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd. I'm like a book geek. That is why I felt, that like kind of like a hippie person. I'm doing it my own way, how I feel it. So well, that is why I didn't have this experience. On the other hand, as I was saying, which is a little bit sad, because at uni I was studying literature. I mean, like I'm talking about Russia. The sad thing is that I mean, like we spoke all English, well, a bit of French. We read everything in translation. Extremely strange, right? Like we didn't read in English, etc. On the other hand, yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. It is jaw-dropping. On the other hand, again, I feel lucky because now when like after uni, I had this beautiful chance to get back to the books that I had already read and finally to read them in their first language and finally get back to this experience and reread them and see them like, like in their first language. So that is why, on the one hand, of course, it's rather an unlucky experience, like not reading. But I can't complain because it was a great chance to get back to all these great books and to read them finally in their first language and to get back to the my favorite stories. And again, to do it in my way. I had absolutely, like this freedom of, and that is why, by the way, I love everything. Sometimes I do love this analytical reading, like dissecting, looking why it works and how it works, this magic of the sentence. But again, I do this because I love it, not because it's imposed on me. And unfortunately, which is sad about the lessons of literature and languages at school and at uni, well, you kind of feel that you have no choice. You like follow, follow your teacher, professor. And quite often students, they ask, and why should you do this? And this is sad, actually, when teachers, they fail to answer this question, why we are like reading this and dissecting. So yeah.
Yeah, especially when you have to read a certain book and it's difficult for you to read. You don't get the content, you don't connect with the story, and you have to read that book because you're gonna have a test on it or whatever, and you really don't enjoy. How many times I have been through this and to the point where you don't even know when, I mean, I think probably because when a teacher would tell me to read something, I would do it. I was just a good student. I would do what I was asked to do. But at the end of the day, I didn't feel like, I felt like if I was, and you're also influenced by, your peers or society, or I don't know, media and
Family.
yeah, family as well. And you feel like if you don't read that book, then you're missing out, or it's like, I mean, I know you. I I hope you're not gonna say, Luigi, I'm not. I don't want to be friends with you because I've never been into Harry Potter. I don't.
And finally she's saying it, and finally I've been waiting for this. I felt there is something. Yes, I saw it in your eyes. No, I'm joking, of course. It's
Somehow I've watched the film, but the thing is that I had my aunt who offered me this book. It was a Harry Potter book, and it was volume 3 or 4. And I hadn't read the previous ones, and she offered me that book. I was, I don't know, 14, 13 years old, and I was like, okay, what is this? No, I want to know about this book. It's a phenomenon. And I was
absolutely.
like, no, I don't know. And then I started to read it, but from volume 3. So I started, and halfway through, I was like, no, just stop this. And I just, but you feel like, again, like a failure, because you're like, oh no, I wasn't able to finish the book. Because once you finish a book, you tell yourself that you have to finish it. And I've come to what's the expression in English? I have come to closure, or I have come to the point, never mind,
Yeah.
that there's too many books out there. And if I feel like it's not the book, I feel like I'm a bit disappointed by the book, or I'm not really into the book, I just stop now. And I put it on the side, and maybe at some point later I will go back to it, where I will have more information about the author, or some more background on the story.
Absolutely.
And I feel less shame or disappointment about myself, to just tell myself, okay, just put this
Absolutely.
on the side, and then you'll see later. Because
Absolutely.
this is often what we feel as well.
Mhm.
And the fact that being growing up and being more and having and getting older also, there's some wisdom in that, because when I was young, I would read the book that I was asked to read in school, and I didn't realize that I could read. I would read a little bit, but yes, my joy in reading really developed when I started to allow myself to just read the books that I wanted to read. And if it was a nonfiction book, or someone from I don't know, a celebrity or something, I would allow it. It would not count as a book. It feels like if you read a nonfiction book, it doesn't count. It's not like reading
Mhm.
but actually I've educated myself a lot by reading nonfiction books, and especially on personal development, or you know
Absolutely.
and so many topics. And um now, and from that point, when I started reading books that I really wanted, I love biographies as well.
Yeah.
I really want to read the Britney Spears one. I'm just saying.
Why not? And why not? I mean, like a Christmas read, why not? You probably.
I love pop culture. It's just, but it doesn't mean that I can't read classic literature, and it
Exactly.
can be
Mm.
both. That's
I
that's
know.
that's the thing. Is that
I don't just understand why we have to choose, why it's always black and white, and like this is so, again, such a strange and funny thing that on the one hand, yes, there are these snobs saying that, well, nonfiction, it doesn't count, it's just like eating fast food. On the other hand, I've been in situations when people would say something like, well, classic literature, all this drama, all this, emotions, love stories. What could you learn from it?
romance?
I mean, there are the same about like classic literature. Well, the expressions, they outdated. Nobody speaks like this. And the opposite about, like modern literature, like, oh, well, yeah, but it's so poor, the language. There is no beauty in it. There is so much, like, this snobbery about books. People love judging. But what we say, don't judge the book by its cover. The same, we shouldn't judge people. I mean, if you're reading something, you're already a winner. Whether it's fiction or non-fiction, classic or modern. If it's even a manual how you use your microwave, you're already reading. Yay! Wow, you should, but that's true, especially if you're doing this in different languages, which is a great opportunity, to refresh some vocabulary. It's already a victory, the same, like, audiobooks, ebooks,
True.
like real books, well, I mean, like real books, not like physical books.
Because
uh,
once.
we love so much like the
Mhm.
opposition,
Mhm.
while we can actually all just enjoy and benefit from all this richness of the world,
Yeah, it's
literary
true.
world.
It's like this idea of, don't the idea of when there is an adaptation of a book into a film or a
Oh,
TV series.
classic thing, classic thing. Yeah,
That's another one as well. And you've got people, of course, in the book, you're going to have more details. It is true that you're going to be more into the inner thoughts of the character, and it's much more deep. But I have to say, I don't know if I've discovered books through films, through the release of the film. For example, where the crawdad sings.
I haven't seen and I haven't read. Shame on me. I should quit this conversation. Shame on me. No, I haven't yet, but yet next year.
Yeah. Because they released the film and I went to see the film and I loved it. And this is what gave me the motivation and the aspiration to read the book afterwards. And of course, when I read the book, I was like, oh. But the book was we're using, because the author was a biologist, or so she's using a lot of terms, like technical, scientific terms. So I was a bit lost sometimes, I have to say.
But by the way, what did you do when you felt lost? This is an interesting, like, from linguistic point of view. So, well, when you were reading and you felt lost because of all this terminology, which doesn't necessarily mean that, like, not necessarily that native speakers will even understand. So what did you do about this feeling?
That's an interesting thought as well, is that because you are a non-native speaker, you think that you will not understand. You will be the only people who would not understand, but actually native speakers cannot understand as well those words. And when you realize that, it's so empowering as well. You realize that, oh, it's not just me as a non-native who doesn't get it, but it can be also, as well, any people, any native person. But what I do is, either it's only when I see a word or an expression that comes back again and again, and I don't really get the idea and it starts frustrating me, then I'm gonna look up and search for the meaning. But I have to say that when it's, for example, the description of because in that book, for example, they describe a lot of the mangrove, a typical type of land in the US, in Louisiana, or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds like a passionate read. Huh? I mean, like, extremely interesting. But yeah, it's
because this is the thing as well with reading, is that, and that's why I'm glad I've watched the film.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because I had those images to help me figure out, okay, that she's describing this is in the forest. This is where the girl is living, and she's living in this sort of forest, and surrounded by water, basically. And so the film really helped me because otherwise, of course, you can't stop yourself every single minute to check the words, because there are so many. I mean, sometimes, and there is no point, because and that doesn't remove the essence of what you're reading. Absolutely. And the message of the story. So that's why at some point you just keep going and follow the flow of your reading.
Absolutely. And I think this is a very...
You have to let go. That's one thing. You have to let go.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you that this is a very important skill to learn. That first of all, we should accept that we don't know everything. Because when we read in the second language, of course, we feel fragile. Of course, we feel vulnerable. And of course, with all our experience in our first language, reading experience, studying experience, we kind of like, you know, we feel entitled. And when we start reading in the second language, all of a sudden we realize, oh, I don't understand this, I don't know that. And of course, it's not a nice feeling to feel like a fool, like to say, oh, okay, I don't know this, I don't know that, I'm such a stupid person. But on the other hand, I think the learning freedom actually lies in this feeling that I don't know nothing probably now. And this is the starting point that I will just, like, the sky is the limit, you know? And I think it is a nice thing to accept about us as a second language readers, writers, speakers, that this point of not knowing is just the beginning of our journey. And little by little, step by step, page by page, paragraph by paragraph, first of all, we will get used to, because I also think that reading in the second language, it's also a very physical process. We need to let our brain, our body, our eyes to get used to seeing the letters, the shapes, the words, you know, and just to feel accustomed with this. And then day by day, that is why I would say, like, the key word here is consistency. Keep going, paragraph by paragraph, page by page. It's not the number that counts at the end of the day, not how much you read, but like how often you did it. And that's why, yeah, that is why I think this is a great feeling to realize, okay, I don't know this. And why should I, by the way? Why should I? It's the first time I'm reading this. I can learn, I can Google, I can check it out after on the internet if I want to, if I feel like it. So, yeah.
And it's exactly how you build up your vocabulary bank of words.
Absolutely.
This is how you build up confidence. And yes, it doesn't matter often as well. You compare yourself because you have people who manage to read a lot, you know, a lot of books. And I'm not a fast reader. It takes me time to read because, you know, it's just how I operate. I don't know, it's how my brain works. And the thing is that often we feel diminish ourselves because you know, you have your friend who reads so many big books. So I remember when I was young and I had friends who could read those 400 pages books, you know, Harry Potter type.
Like, oh, wait a second, like Proust. You just read, you know, like a whole page and it's just one sentence. And you're just like, what the heck is happening? Just one sentence and the whole page. And you're like, ooh, something is happening here.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my gosh, and I can read just this book, and you feel, you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself. And the thing is, it doesn't matter because now when I look back and how little I was reading when I was young, and now how much I enjoy, and I'm creating a book club about it, around it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you like projects now are about books.
And I enjoy it, and because I now feel that not I own the types of books that I like and that I enjoy, and I have enough confidence now to not be influenced by other people's judgment.
Yeah. So actually your reader's destiny in your hands. You just took it in your hands. Yeah. By the way, this is interesting for me. Speaking of your book projects, how do you choose books for your book projects? And for example, what to do? What do you recommend if, for example, the participants at some point, yes, they realize that probably this book is not for them, it's not to their taste, not their, you know, like a cup of tea. So how do you choose and what to do in this case? What do you recommend?
Okay, for example, for my first book club course that was on younger, which was this book. It's just under the Here, this one.
Oh, you have it. You have it. Wait a second. Show me. Show me. Show me. Show me. It's I love it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay.
It looks very, the thing is, it looks very girly or very
Gossip girl like.
huh?
Gossip girl like, like
Gossip
Gossip
Girl,
Girl.
yeah, Gossip Girl, Sex and the City, whatever. Well, because actually this is the act, because this book has been adapted on TV. And she is the actress of, she's the main character of the TV series.
Wow. So she's female lead. Okay.
Yeah, so the story is happening in
Beautiful.
and she's the actress, the main character. So actually the director, Darren Star, is the producer and creator of the series. And guess which TV series he produced as well recently? And he produced so many, but the ones that is the most recent one is Emily in Paris.
Oh my gosh. But I'm a little bit late. I haven't seen the last season, but okay, yeah. So he's a huge star now, this guy.
Yeah, Darren Star is a producer and creator of many of successful American TV series. I don't know if you knew Beverly Hills in the 90s.
You
must know.
Yeah, I remember.
When I discovered that, I was like, oh my God, this makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. It does. But so why did you choose this particular book?
So why did I choose this book? Okay,
yes.
let's not get derailed to another topic. But yes, why did I choose that book? So first, this book is for B2 plus advanced students. And I choose this one because I figured that it would be, there are not so many pages. It's like 280 pages.
It's not overwhelming. It's not overwhelming. Actually, you feel kind of good about it.
The chapters are quite, it's quite an easy read as well. The language is, it's contemporary novel. So the language is modern English, American English. And the chapters are, except chapter 1, which is about 20 pages, they're roughly around 10-ish pages. So I would say that when you are starting, when you're a B2 plus level and you're starting to read a book in English for native speaker, I found that it was a good start to read in English, a native speaker, a book written for native speaker. Yeah. So I started with this book because also I wanted to read the story because I discovered the book from the TV series. Same.
Okay, so you decided to kill actually two birds with one stone, right? To read it yourself and to create a project around it. That's a win-win situation, actually. Yeah, I love it. This is a great approach.
This is a very, very good argument. Yes, and also the topics, because it looks very girly, very flivorous, and but in the end, it's a book talking about books as well. Because let me pitch the story quickly. It's a woman in her 40s. She just got divorced, and she decides to, and she has one daughter, and she's now 20 years old, or she's an adult, and she moved away to do some voluntary work. So she finds herself at home and just got divorced, and she's trying to find a new job. She's trying to go back to work because she stopped working for many years to look after her daughter because her husband was working and was the breadwinner. This expression, breadwinner. She started, and she wanted to go back to work. And she used to work in the publishing company.
So it's already book related.
Yeah, that's it. And they're doing a lot of, and the author is making a lot of references to books and authors. So this is why I loved it as well. And she finds herself struggling to go back to work, and she wants to go back to work in her previous, in her old company, in the previous company she used to work when she was younger. But she got rejected, and then she's trying different jobs, and in the end she finds herself struggling to find a job as a 40-year-old woman, and that put the question in about ageism and how how do we cope with getting older and how society views women getting older. So you see how deep the topic is. So this is why I liked this book, and I found that this book could explore many different conversation and could lead to different conversation and help people think about those ideas. So it's much deeper than that. And she has to, in the end, she will fake her age to find a job in publishing. And she's gonna go back to work in the company that she used to work, actually. So it's quite funny.
It sounds like a joke, but
yeah, and this is what I like as well with reading, with book and fiction, is that the action of a character or the context is leads you to question your own, how would you have behaved, how would you have done it yourself if you were in the same position.
Exactly.
And you can try as well to reflect on the action and about that the whole topic of the book. And it's interesting as well to have those conversations about for example, ageism, and the fact that she's going to work with people who are much younger than her, and how do you cope having two generations working in the same environment and also creating friendships. You see.
But she actually, as I understand, she just like starting everything from scratch. And by the way, also, this is a huge question to think about. In the first place, why she ended up, like being at home, staying at home, and then finally getting back to work, and then finally trying to rebuild, like her own life. This is also, by the way, an interesting topic to think about, like family and women and men roles in family. And I have a question, if you don't mind, like with your course, well, of course, in general, what would you say, what would be your tips, how to make the most of this reading process in your second language? What would you say, like when we are reading in our second language, so how to like benefit from it, how to make the most of it? So I mean, like, for example, vocabulary, put it down, then to do what after reading a book. So how that not just, like reading and then putting it back on our shelf, but how to benefit from this enriching experience.
Because that's also this is one of the reasons why I created this book club. Really, because often you close it once you finish the book, you close it, and then of course you don't want to finish it. You're so you're still in it, and when you're at that point and you're still in it, and you would like to share your thoughts on the book, and often, well, you move on with your life and you go to work, and then if someone didn't read that book as well, where you can't really exchange, or then you forget and whatever. That's something that I found quite frustrating as well, not being able to share my thoughts on the book and my feelings about it. And
Okay.
And yeah, and being able to discuss about the book
Yeah.
later on, just after that, because yeah, this is also one of the reasons why I created this book club, is to be able to share our reading experience and share our thoughts on the topics, because otherwise, I don't know if you have you ever joined a book club yourself, in person or online? What
Yeah, I
is your
have.
experience
I
in
have actually. I actually have. And I also last year I was kind of holding, myself, but it was more like experience, not like of reading of the whole book, but some extracts and passages. And I have this experience, which again, this is my favorite word today, extremely enriching, because first of all, well, of course, it's like sharing your point of view, but also on the other hand, it's seeing this book, from another perspective, from like the perspective of other people, and realizing that we see so different things. It's like one and the same book, but like it's crazy, but we pay attention to different moments. We even interpretate it. And this is also what is cool about books, that there is no right answer. Every answer is right. And also what I love also about book clubs, that you train this skill of being open-minded, of accepting other perceptions, other ways to read, other ways to interpret things, which I think is also magic about book clubs, is because, well, reading books, it's a very solitary process. And we're like all alone with the book. It's just the book and me and, well, the narrator. And whereas like book clubs, you always feel this, like united with other people, united by this story, united by the book. And you're not the same person. I think after each session, you're not the same person. You've learned something about yourself, and most importantly, other people. So no, I think this is an extremely, like a magic experience of being together and sharing, and sharing and listening to other people.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Um, and um, going through, and the thing is, because it's for my book club is for non-native English speakers.
Yeah.
This is the idea as well, because reading in English is one thing, but being able to express your ideas and produce your orally what you want to say is two different things. When you read and you integrate the structures, or you're learning some new words, but then having to be in a position to reuse that vocabulary in a different context, or in the way you want to use it, it's so different. And this is where you see your ability to integrate that vocabulary into your system, into your brain, and this is where you see that you understand that word, because you're able to use it again, reuse it in a different context.
Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. That is why I think it is crucial, after reading books in your second language, to do something with them, meaning that either to discuss it, absolutely, like kind of, to get an ownership on all the words that you have seen, from passive to make it active. Because passive, yeah, I mean, like the second time, the third time I will see this word, I will recognize it, but it doesn't mean that I will actually read it, I will actually use it. So either it's like speaking, or why not, I think also it's a good option, like writing book reviews. I think it's also a good option for, like, like, it depends, of course, on your goal, if you want to work on your writing, or even, like TikToking, Instagramming, reels, shorts, but do something with this. Do something with this. Otherwise, it will be just, like all you've learned will just, you know, like will get all this dust on it, and what is the outcome of everything. That is why I love actually your project, that it combines everything. It's like reading itself, which is already extremely cool on the one hand. On the other hand, it's also doing, yeah, like being an active reader. Yeah, being an active reader, creating, doing something, participating, and you know, like again, taking the destiny in your hands.
Yeah,
You're learning that.
in the process, you're going to improve enormously your level of English.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
So this is also why I've created it, because, and I want also to show a different way to learn a language.
Yeah.
Of course, this book club is not really for, but it might, I don't know. But the idea that I have in my head is that it's not quite for very beginners, because when you don't know any words, you're gonna feel lost, and that might be a very
300 pages, like a torture to read. I mean, like it will be just browsing through book.
frustrating experience. Yeah, but for people who kind of are intermediate or advanced, then for
Absolutely.
people who have learned the language but then lost it, because when when since I got back to France, then I don't have much opportunity to express to practice my English. So if you have so many people in the same position who are not able to live in another country or travel, whatever, then how many chances do you have to practice the language? So this is why internet is amazing as well, because you can reach so much. Yeah. And yeah,
Absolutely
you have
agree with you.
yeah. So that's also one of the point, is that when you have learned a language and then you didn't practice it, because this is like any type of sports or any activity, languages, if you don't practice it, you lose it. And yeah, and this is why I want to make this available to people, so that they have an opportunity to practice
Absolutely.
English and improve as well. So
I can even say, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I can even say, let's be honest, but there are, like, a few teachers, there are some teachers even in our languages who don't read in their target language. I mean, it's just like, I don't have time, I'm not motivated. And this is also, by the way, a good motivation, not only like for learners, but even for teachers, to feel that you know why you're reading, because then you will have this like reading session, you will discuss it, you will share your point of view, which is amazing. And also, it's like feeling that you belong to a community, you know? Yeah, and also great like me time, like way how to spend your like me time, to be with the book, then with the language, and then with the people who are also crazy about this book. I mean, what else do you need in life?
Yes, and what I've seen as well for trying reading stories in class is that at some point either you're going to read the passage or the chapters, or you're going to have an audio version of the book,
Yeah.
And it's also a quiet time at that point. Kids are going to, I've experienced teaching kids. So you're going to have, well, kids or teenagers, more like teenagers. And you're going to have that downtime for that lesson or for that part of the lesson. And it's actually beneficial for them to have that quiet time, to just not be, just listening to the stories, because this is also one of the difficult point for students. Oh, it ended.
Just a second, what is going? Just a second, I will rejoin you. You need to. I know, I don't know. Wait a second. I don't
Because
know.
I think
You have a time limit? No, you don't have.
did we reach 1 hour?
I
Already?
guess yes, 1 hour. Yes, we
Oh,
have
that's
definitely.
why. Do I start
Ah.
the live again or not?
Well, yeah, I think we need to finish it. Yeah, let's do this. I will just join you. Yes. Wait a
Yeah.
second. Yes, send a request. Yeah, I think it would be better if we finish because you were saying about quiet time and I love it. Okay. Do you, I think I have requested. Yes, yes, I'm
Is it working?
joining you.
Yay, you're back. This
So
is
that's
this is so annoying with Instagram lives. It's at after 1 hour, then just shut down.
that's what happens, you know, when you're talking about books. Time just
Ah,
flies.
yes, so
Time
much
just
to
flies, and you
say.
just like don't even actually, we haven't even actually noticed, right? But you were saying, let's get quickly because I'm afraid in Instagram, you know, like we'll do other things. So you were saying about this quiet time. So like
Yeah,
teenagers,
it's
they
quite.
had this great opportunity.
It's just I want to be able to show that learning a language is not just about learning the grammar and learning how to say, how to order a meal at the restaurant, or it can be very useful, of course. That's great. But it's not really when you're going to have deep conversation or you're going to develop your speaking skills, that much. I mean, a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's it's kind of limited, I would say. But when you read, just you open your mind to so many, and you open your ears and your eyes to so many words, and this idea of passive learning as well, that you're going to see so many different types of structures and words that you wouldn't use in a daily life.
Oh.
So yes, it's all of these, and it's just that. And the thing is, what's also something that I've noticed as a teacher and looking back as a learner is that it's the same idea of when you get just an extract of a text of a book, is that when you want to explain, for example, past tense, and you want to do those subtle differences between the, I don't know, past continuous and the simple past. And why do you use ing? Oh no, in French, in English, sorry, you've got the ing, the
Yeah.
present continuous, and then the simple present, and in French we don't have that, and that's very difficult for some students, French
It's
students.
confusing. It is confusing. Let's say it. Oh, wait a second. Present perfect. You don't have it either in French, huh?
Thank you. And you have those subtle differences, and when you want to try to explain these grammar rules or tenses rules to the students, and when you don't have, I feel like when you have a story, you have a context, you have
First.
actions, you have different types of actions and scenes,
Okay.
so that helps the understanding of the differences, because you're going to say, oh, but this character, he was reading when the murderer arrived, or
Absolutely.
it helps
Absolutely.
in
I
their
have
minds as well. I've noticed that this is so rich in terms of the language learning as well, and now you have publishers and I love those penguin readers books. I don't know if you know this
yeah.
one.
I have noticed it on your Instagram. Yeah.
Check my lives, of course, and because for this first book club course, I targeted B2 plus advanced, learners. But maybe for my next course, it's going to be I'm gonna try with B2 learners. You know, I'm going to select Penguin Readers books
Yeah.
for B2 level. Because maybe I feel like that can be something that
I think that can be a great idea, you know?
I'm just gonna try different levels. I don't know.
Absolutely. But no, I do agree with you, because the problem with everything that is lower than B2 is that students kind of have to read these boring texts from student books, you know, that were created for student books. And they don't feel the reality of the language. They feel that it was somehow artificially created for their level. Whereas when you have a real story, like from, I mean, like literature, Frankenstein, you are holding now, you feel, well, you feel what you are doing, it makes sense. It's, well, it's this story, this masterpiece that now, even if it's like adapted, it doesn't matter. I can touch this story. I can, you know, like enjoy this story, reading it in its language, you know, it's in first language. That is why I think, unfortunately, quite often, like the students of lower levels, they feel kind of neglected from this perspective, that they have to read, you know, like short, boring things, everyday life, going to a restaurant. Whereas, why not? Even, you know, like so some books, well, adapted or not, they can already be accessible, you know, for lower level students.
Yes, this is what I'm not sure if you for or against those books now.
No, I'm for everything that will make people that will help people read it, of course. I mean,
Okay.
like, but it's adapted, but
I
it's
had a
adapted,
feeling
but
that
it's
you were
not,
like, no, 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 great.
but it's not artificial. I mean, it's not that, you know, like you're writing like Jim wakes up every morning, 6
Yeah,
a.m. He goes to school and blah, blah, blah. No, you have a real story. You have a real characters like Frankenstein. Finally, people will like learn that Frankenstein, it's not the monster, actually.
and
No,
you know,
I'm,
yeah, until recently, I was thinking, you know, from, you know, because it's so much in pop culture, you know,
yeah.
in Halloween, especially at Halloween time. But I realized, yeah, I've learned that as well, or I had forgotten, I don't know. But the thing is, what I like with Penguin Readers is that it's sort of not for young children, for very young readers,
Yes.
because and it's in between. I like the fact that they managed to make it accessible for young readers, but also not to make it too childish, because you're gonna have, you know, illustrations, they're not babyish, you see, but that's for B1
Yeah,
level, you see.
absolutely. But like even adults, they need some
And
illustrations.
And the thing is, I like the fact that it adds a little bit of illustration, especially at that level, because it helps as well the
Of
reader.
course, absolutely.
And
Absolutely. I can't agree more
and
with you.
and I like the fact that it respects a little bit the narrative and how the narrative, sorry, of the story has been structured as well.
Absolutely.
So because I've tried another Frankenstein adaptation, but that was for young readers, and it was a French publisher adapting Frankenstein.
Oh,
And
wow, this is interesting.
yeah,
Wow.
but for young readers,
Yeah.
and for school, and I found that it was missing a little bit some parts of the story and the narrative. So, and I like the fact that there are questions before reading, questions and after reading, questions, and some, you know, any other type of writing activities that you can do. So I find that if you have a B1 level and you know about the story about Frankenstein, but you're not able to read, I mean, when you have a B1 level, reading Mary Shelley's 19th century English, it's gonna be
It's a bit ambitious, let's say it
yes,
like
and
this.
that's the thing, and it can become a frustrating experience.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
that's why I'm gonna try. We'll see, but that's
No,
why.
but I think this is a great idea. I think this is a great idea, to give people this option, to be able to be reading something, well, something literary, let's say it like
Especially when
this.
it's classics literature. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And well, I love this idea. I watched an interview with Neil Gaiman because he retold Norwegian mythology. And he was saying that what is great about stories is retelling them, is being able to give kind of your version of it. And that is why I love this idea, of these adapted books, because again, it's just to keep this story living, just to keep this story alive. And also what is great that the readers of the participants, of your clubs, they will get this extra motivation. They will say, okay, now it's adapted, and in future I will be able to see what it was like in the original. So that is why, again, it's a win-win situation from linguistic point of view, motivation point of view, and also, yeah, like, well, I mean, anyway, it's Frankenstein. The story is changed. And the beauty of this story is not changed. So, well, whether it's adapted or not,
Yeah.
I don't see the difference. No, I absolutely, that is why, I mean, like when I saw your Instagram and I immediately fell in love and I was like, yeah, I definitely need to go live with her because this is nice, to find a kindred soul, because I love this experience and I love your idea of doing everything at the same time, because sometimes we get focused and stuck on the vocabulary, all this like B2 C1 expressions. Sometimes we just go with the story, but I think that what is real experience is like to have everything, a little bit of everything, like vocabulary, but also conversation, but also yeah, expressing your point of view, but also trying to figure out what the writer feels or thinks about it, and what other people.
Yeah, because we feel like we only going to be able to talk about a book at a certain level. Only
Yeah,
when we're going to reach that
absolutely.
level, advanced level,
Oh,
we're going to be able to analyze and blah blah blah. But it's not true. You
uh-uh.
you have ideas, especially as an adult, when
Yeah,
you learn a language, or when you're a teenager, when you're like 16, you're starting to have making your own opinion.
yeah,
And well, my book club is for adults, of course, but but if you are, I don't know, 18, 19-year old, and you have ideas, and when you want to be able to express your ideas, and when you are a beginner, when you don't have a lot of vocabulary, you can still
absolutely, absolutely.
express your ideas, and it's because we're going to allow you to express your ideas that you're going to develop
Yeah,
your vocabulary. And this is why
absolutely.
yeah, and this is why I like doing lives, or in my course I do live sessions. It's because I want to be able to help people to make their sentences, or and have other people as well listen to someone's ID and help them developing what they're saying. Maybe someone is going to start saying one thing and the other person is going to develop more in the ID. And it's a little bit of everything when you're learning. when you're reading, you're practicing your reading skills. You are you are getting new vocabulary so that you will be able to reuse in your writing if you want to do some writing, and of course in your speaking. Everything is intertwined. And I'm not, in my course, it's not about improving your, I'm not focusing on just reading, because I want to also allow people to express, to develop their other skills like speaking and a little bit of writing as well. But of course, if you really want to develop your writing skills, it's maybe not in my book club that you will manage to be able to do that. If you want to write essays, or maybe
it's a different genre. It's a different genre.
But if you want to do a little bit of writings, because this is what I will be asking I ask my students, is to write a little short summary or a reflection. For example, for younger, I ask to reflect on the idea of, if you had to relive your 20s, would you do anything different? Would you do it better? And it's interesting to think about that. What would I do? What would I do if I had the chance to go back to my 20s? What would you do? Would you do things better?
This is a good one. This is a good one. Yeah. No, I absolutely. And also what I think is crucial is that people realize that their opinion matters. And that they actually this is what I also love about this format, like book clubs, is that they realize that there is no stupid idea. Because I also, I had these conversations, even if we talk about reading books in our first language, that people without some literary background, without, studying literature at university, when they took to reading books, when they are already adults, sometimes, quite often, they feel scared that, well, I don't have enough knowledge. My opinion doesn't matter. It's stupid, it's rubbish. They feel intimidated, modest, shy, whatever you want. And what I love about book clubs, that step by step you will see that, well, it does matter what I want to say. People are listening to me. They are like nodding, or the opposite. Sometimes they can disagree, but anyway, we build a whole conversation. And I think this is magic, especially if you do this in your second language, because you see that you actually possess this power to express, to voice your opinion on the one hand. On the other hand, I also believe that reading in your second language, it's also like creating your new personality, rebuilding it. Because again, as we said, every language has its own energy, has its own rhythm. And when we speak different languages, we're always different. And I think also reading books and then being able to express our opinion is like finding this new self, finding this new personality, which is extremely therapeutic as an experience. And also reading books, whether it's like adapted or the original versions, it doesn't matter, in your second language, it also helps you somehow to kind of keep distance in a way that you can see things from a different perspective, from different, lens, and reflect on yourself, in this language. And the question, what I would do, I'm not sure that I will answer this question, in the same way in different languages. No, that's true, I mean, yeah, definitely in different languages, the answer will be different, I guess, or at least the wording, no, it will be different, I guess.
Yeah, that's an interesting thinking, the fact that the way you express yourself in one language is a different way that you do in your native language, for example. And I think this is one of the reasons why when I moved abroad and I experienced living in the UK, and it feels liberating. I felt liberated in a way, And
Absolutely.
and I think this is where everything unlocked, and my reading experience changed. And actually, I started with reading when I started reading books in English, then I went back to reading some books in French, the ones that, some books that I was interested in, or, and actually I went back to French and enjoyed much better once I had went through this, I don't know, this enlightenment of reading something that I would enjoy, and not reading something that my teacher would ask me to do or whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with you. It is liberating.
Yeah.
It is liberating. It does sound liberating. Yeah, well, no, I absolutely agree with you. That is why I'm always for reading, and I'm always encouraging, like everyone. And I think that it's probably like, the projects like yours, and in general, like book bloggers, etc. I think one of our main goals is to, in a way, to put away fears of other people, all these stereotypes around reading books, all these fears, all the anxiety. And I think one of the way what we should really do is to see and to show that reading is magic. You don't have to force yourself. Little by little, step by step, page by page, you will get used to it. Of course, it takes time. Everything takes time. There is no magic pill how to get used to reading in your second language. On the one hand, on the other hand, it's not only for the cool ones. It's not only for the clever ones. It's only, it's for everyone. It's like accessible for everyone, and it's just the matter to find the book you will click with and that's all. And that is why I think always, like, okay, just read the page 2, 3. If it's not working, okay, try something else. Eventually you will find, because there are thousands, if not like millions of books. So they're sure, like, it's like with dating, the same thing. You need to go to one date, to another date, to the third date, and never like stop, and keep reading and keep searching for the book that you love.
Yeah. I have a final question, I think, because
yeah, because I mean, we can keep talking. It's like like never ending. Yeah.
I think nice people will be still able to join our conversation. But as a teacher, so you teach English.
Yeah,
you teach
absolutely.
English,
yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And how do you discuss about reading with your students, or do you have time to discuss about it all the time?
Absolutely. This is a good question. So, well, what I do, because I absolutely realize that people that they don't have time. I don't want to impose things. That is why I do love reading extracts, but I'm more like, like to get a taste of it, more like when you have like wine tastings and you try like this and you try that. And I love this, just to see, just to feel the pace of book. So I do this from time to time, like, to read extracts. But since it's more like general English for now, I don't insist, of course. Because it's an extremely personal thing. But that's why I do all this Instagram Substack things, etc. I try just to give my example.
To ask you about Substack. What is it?
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm a huge fan of this. Well, actually, it's a writing platform, and what I love about it that it's all about reading and writing experience. Because Instagram now it's more like about videos, reels, which is awesome. But I'm more like like writing girl, and it's a platform where you can write, where you can read, and also it's like newsletter platform, which means that your subscribers, they get your newsletters directly in their mailbox. Which I love. So, you know, like you cannot complain and say like, well, because of these algorithms, my subscribers, they cannot see what I'm posting. But most of all, yeah, it's because it's really oriented, you know, like on texts and on writing experience. And there are lots of great writers here, there. And that is why I'm really loving it. And the whole point, first of all, of course, I enjoy myself. This is the most, I'm very selfish, an extremely selfish person.
Yeah,
But
you're
also
right.
I want to give, you know, this example to my students to show that they can also write, they can also read, that it's not, you know, like it's not about only grammar and vocabulary, that it's something more subtle, that it's more like, yeah, creating your new personality. Well, yeah, I believe that learning languages is like, well, yeah, creating your new type of personality, and books and writing, I think, can help immensely in it. But again, I'm very subjective about it.
Yeah, because if often we don't allow ourselves when this is why I often, especially now that comes back, before launching this book club, when I was younger, I had started this blog about music, you know, talking about music, and I was blogging, you know, a little bit, writing. I had started, and but the thing, there was always something, and it was just at the beginning of my experience abroad when I had just moved to London, and I started, you know, this blog about music. And the thing is, at some point I had this feeling, or I had those thoughts about the fact that, but who am I? Who am I to write in English? I'm a non-native speaker. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes, and people not, you know, they're going to say, who am I to write in English when I'm not a native speaker, you know? And well, then life happens, and then I had to pay the bills, and then my blog just stopped. I stopped it. But when I look back, and obviously I didn't know everything that I know now about building an online business stuff, you know, so obviously that helps a lot as well. But of course, I had those thoughts as well. And now I came to terms as well with it, because you know, with being having a degree in English language, or you know, you want to tick the boxes, and you know, you feel like you're more entitled to do it because now you have some degrees, you have experience,
give yourself permission.
a professional experience, and you've lived abroad. But the thing is, I feel in the end, I realized that I was very tough on myself in the end, because
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I had the right, like, anyway, because then I came across this blogger. She was American, and she was doing some videos, some vlogging, you know, at that time it was something that was booming, you know, vlogging, and she was vlogging in French. And I was like, oh my God, you know, and I was like, that was after I had stopped, I think, my blog. And you're like, oh my God, people are doing, and you know, and this is when you realize, you're like, oh my gosh, but you have people who just don't hold themselves back, you know, and they just do the things that they want to do. So I was like, this time I'm just gonna do what I want to do.
And you should definitely do this. You should definitely do this, because for me, the main motivation was that at some point I realized that I would regret, you know, really, like, you know, this infamous, like, deathbed, like, you know, like when you think of, and I realized that I would definitely regret this, of not letting myself, expressing myself to the fullest in the language that I'm crazy about. And I think this is also an experience that we all eventually go through, like fighting this imposter syndrome, like dealing with this fear of making mistakes, of feeling, inferior to native speakers. But again, the more you do, the easier it gets, in a way that you get used to. Sometimes you have bad days, sometimes you have good days, sometimes you post and you're like, wow, I mean, I haven't reread it, why I have so many mistakes. Yeah, and you see that actually no one cares about your mistakes. I mean, really, no one cares about your mistakes. And you're like, okay, well, this time I made mistakes. Well, tomorrow I will learn this lesson. And yeah, and that is why I think it's an important stage, like of feeling afraid, of being scared, of not accepting yourself, being inferior, imposter syndrome, and all this stuff. I mean, the same about teaching. I'm not a native speaker. Why am I teaching English? I'm not a native speaker. But then you say to yourself, I love it so much. It's just the love of my life. And I mean, as I said, there are two types of fear. Fear of being judged and fear of not fulfilling your dream. And I'm always asking myself, what fear is stronger for me, of not fulfilling my dream and going to the end, or of being judged, of being criticized? And this is, always this like scales, and you need to decide it for yourself, which fear is important, not more important, but stronger for you. Let's say like this.
Yeah. And I have this idea when you were talking at some point about I just lost it. But
that's what it means to be talking for 1.5 hours.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it all comes back to the confidence, because I think at that point I didn't have that confidence, and it takes time to build confidence as well. So it takes, for some it's in them, or they don't worry much and they just do it, and they don't second guess things. Some people are like that. They just have confidence in
So it's
themselves.
kind of like natural. Well, yeah, it's there, like, second nature. Well, I don't know so many
It's
people
not
like
the
this.
case. Yeah, I don't think there's so many, or they hide it very well. But then you've got people, much more people who with them building confidence, it takes time for the majority of people, I guess. And I forgot the idea. Oh my gosh, it came back, and then this is what I wanted to say, and oh, never mind.
Well, we will do another live, when it gets back, we will do another live just to describe.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but yes, like, to sum up everything that I've said, that's exactly what I think is the beauty of your project, is to let people build this reading and speaking confidence in a very friendly community of people, and especially of people who are also crazy about books. Because, like, quite often we're surrounded by people who are not necessarily into reading books. I mean, like, well, for example, I can say about my circle, not everyone is crazy about reading books. So you may feel a little bit, alone in this. But when you have a book club, you are surrounded by people like you are.
Yes, you feel like you're in a tribe, and it's the same. Like I feel now how just starting, with being on social media, on Instagram especially, the fact that I've met you, and also Fernanda from Books and
I
Culture.
loved her project. Yeah, her project is
I mean,
great.
she's like on top of me. she's in the
definitely great. Yeah.
in classic world, but it's amazing. I've attended a couple of workshops, or live workshops, and and it's so nice, and it's how I started as well, building up confidence in reading classics as well, because people like that who makes it accessible. You don't feel like you absolutely have to go to attend this to enter university to be able to learn about this classical literature. And this is what is amazing with the online courses as well. It really make it accessible to anyone who's interested in this type of topics.
Absolutely, absolutely. It does open actually these doors, you know,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
used to be closed and that used
yes,
to be only for particular.
yeah.
It was kind of like a privilege, let's say, to read books.
Mm,
Now, well, luckily for us, well, everyone can do this. No, I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. So that is why, again, I would say it one more time, but it's absolutely sincere that I love your project, and people who will be watching our live, who are watching it now, I do think that if you're into books and still you have some doubts and fears, this is the first step to take, is to join the book club, Leaders Book Club, and finally to find yourself surrounded by people who are also in it, into reading books and learning languages, learning the English language as well.
I wanted to talk about your program as well, about writing, but I don't know if you
Writing, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, like, you know, I'm like in between. I'm thinking, reshaping how it works, because, yeah, I am a bit obsessed with writing and reading, but I'm looking for the right format for me, trying to figure out how to do this. So that is why probably one day there will be something, you know, really focused on writing. But okay, just the one thing that I want to say is that I firmly believe that everyone can write creatively in English. End
yes,
of the
I
story.
listened to your conversation with this guy, this
Fabio, yes, Fabio, yes, absolutely.
Fabio, yes,
Yes.
I've seen, I watched a little bit of the interview, and it was very interesting to see that you, even no matter your level of English,
Yeah,
you can start writing anything that, or blogging.
absolutely.
And it
Absolutely.
goes back to what we were saying, and
Absolutely.
because the way you're going to write, this is what I wanted to say, is
Yay!
no, because it was a very important idea. Is that the thing is the way you're going to yes, because you were saying you were talking about imposter syndrome when you're teaching English and
Yeah.
you're not a native speaker.
Yeah.
And I had the same thought as well. The fact is that sometimes you're actually going to be in a better position as a teacher because you've been a learner of English.
So,
And
absolutely.
and you know, when I was teaching French, as you know, in the UK, I actually, students were coming up with those questions, and I was like, oh, because as a native speaker point of view, you don't think the same because it's your native, your natural language, and you don't think about those thinking, and and being actually in the position of of having been in this position of learner, you can be in a better position to understand what your learner, what your students are going through. Actually,
Absolutely, because even the psychological point, you know, this fear of speaking and how to overcome this fear. And even you know, like, again, if we get back to writing, the same thing happens, or reading actually, because when it's your second language, you pay more attention. You ask yourself more questions about, okay, why the author will use here, like, I know, past simple and not like present perfect and not like past perfect. You always ask yourself these questions, which at the end of the day helps you to feel the language better. And also, which is what is cool, that for you, it's not enough to just like, well, it's just like this. It's well, the way like this, well, just accept it. No, you're like always dig, deeper, like, no,
You want
no,
to
I don't,
understand
why?
why.
Yeah, and this why actually leads us to, well, creativity, reading, teaching. That is why, well, my kind of like mission, if I can say, is to try to show people that it's for everyone. It takes time, effort. Definitely, you need to work and work hard. But if you feel passionate about it enough, one day you will definitely, I'm sure, and I can guarantee it, you will find you at the position that you're just enjoying, like yourself reading and writing and speaking.
And you don't have to be an expert or be a native speaker to be part of the conversation and to be able to express your ideas about
Absolutely. Absolutely. Your
Yeah.
experience and your story matters.
It's unique as well. Yeah, because we often say, oh, but people are already talking. I'm sure that people are going to talk about this topic, or but actually they might not, and not maybe from your perspective. So your writing is worth publishing or worth sharing for
That's
sure.
exactly. And what I also love, by the way, about the English language now, that in reality, it belongs to everyone now. It's not, only to English
Because I
like
think
speaking country.
there are more people learning English or speaking as a second language than actual native speakers.
Yes, and by the way, we are also, but that's actually, it
in
makes
America
sense.
as well.
Well, it makes sense. And in a way, also, we are shaping the language, and we are actually also, in a way, taking part in its life. No, that is why, no, I absolutely think we should stop this, like, again, black and white, native and non-native. No. Work hard, be yourself, be authentic to yourself, and one day you will definitely find yourself in this position of being confident and of feeling confident.
And being a bilingual person, just in between two languages or three or whatever.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. And again, that's okay. Well, the only thing that I love about Instagram is that this chance to meet, like-minded people. Like kindred spirits, like Anne of Green Gables, she used to say, like kindred spirits. So that is why I think that is so fantastic to being able, to be able to be speaking with you about books and writing and languages and teaching and reading. This is
yes, this goes back to what we were saying, the fact that you're going to meet your tribe and being in the, because Fernanda is from Brazil and
wait a second, living in what? In the Netherlands, I think.
Netherlands, it's amazing.
Like,
and you see the thing when you've got
actually.
When you see people, you meeting people like that, you're like, oh my God, you feel like this is possible. You feel like you have as well the right to be there. You have a seat at the table.
Absolutely. And this is all because of languages and books.
It's great. So I hope that in the future we will be able to not just be two of us, but maybe more people to be discussing live.
Absolutely. Well, it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning, but the future is shining. Well, thank you so much again. Thank you so much. That was really pleasure. And again, my congratulations on your project and on everything that you are doing. And I love your page and I love your content and I love your your presence actually on Instagram. You have your own, like presence, you have your own, energy, which does matter in this case. So that is why thank you so much, well, for being you and creating this
Thank
project.
you. Thank you for saying all these beautiful things and being so kind to to get in touch with me so quickly. It was so nice. It was amazing, and to be able to do this live and to be in touch, and who knows, maybe to do more collaboration in the future. I hope so. I
For
hope so.
sure, that is for sure. Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
well, yeah, well, I hope that the end of the year will be nice to all of us and that we will be enjoying to the fullest, you know, like this last 2 weeks of 2023. And that I hope that everyone will find amazing books, you know,
To
under their
read.
Christmas trees as a gift.
Of course. New resolution, start reading in English. Yes.
Yes, yeah, yes, exactly. On your resolution list, I hope that you will put
First
reading and writing in English.
in English. Yeah. Top of the list.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely agree with you. Well,
Oh,
thank you so much.
so
Have a
nice
nice
talking to you.
evening. Yeah.
We went overboard. This is nearly 2 hours. Oh my God. This is
We
too
actually can technically keep talking because we haven't discussed everything, but I think
but
people
yeah,
will be
that's
a
why,
little bit overwhelmed.
yeah, I knew it would flow. I knew it would flow naturally. There's so much to say. Anyway, I hope we're on, I look forward to our next live.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. And well, see
Bye
you
bye.
next time. Bye bye. Thank you. Bye. Okay.